Yo, what's going on YouTube? It is Dom, aka KT2, and I come at you guys with I know I'm back. Another video. And today, guys, today, I got a special treat for you guys. I am here with my homeboy Roger right here, guys. He is guess what? A real life chemical officer. As usual with my interview videos, you know, I'm asking the same couple questions. We just gonna get into it, guys. If you guys got any comments or anything, I'm also gonna link his channel at the end of the video. He also does have a YouTube channel. It's what's your YouTube channel centered around?
So it's mostly about, like, it's not really too specific, but it's mostly about like how the military impacts lives. So like the next one of my videos that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna talk about mental health. And I think like right now that's a really important topic, especially in the military, especially in the pandemic. It's not really too specific, but it's really centered mostly about like how can you be a better person.
Okay, so at the end, guys, you know, I'm gonna link his channel and you guys be able to go on there and see all his vids. You guys could even ask him follow-up questions from this video. So without further ado, Roger, what is your rank?
I'm a first lieutenant.
You're a first lieutenant. Okay. What is your job? What is your job? What is your MOS? Tell me what's your MOS.
So I'm a 74 Alpha, which is a chemical officer.
Tell me about your job. How long have you been at the current job you're at right now, and what is your job right now?
Okay, so this is gonna sound a little odd, right?
Okay.
So I am a 74 Alpha, which is a chemical officer. However, I'm working right now as a budget analyst.
Okay. What the
I'll explain. Usually, chemical officers, if you're not a chemical unit, you're not really doing your job.
Is that a common thing?
Actually, very common.
Okay.
It's very common.
Okay.
I mean, they have this little acronym, and I don't think it's fair for chemical officers, but they call them NBC, which stands for Nobody Cares. It's brutal. But like I said, you know, for me, I think the chemical core itself, I mean, it's a good core if you're interested in chemical things like that, and, you know, biology and things like that, which I'm not really I don't have a science background. The fact that I'm working budget analyst right now, it does translate and does work well for me. I actually I asked if I can come to a more field artillery unit, and I know once I did that, I'll probably end up not being at a chemical unit and probably not doing anything chemical. Truth be told, once I got chemical, it wasn't really my number one choice, to be honest. My number one choice was finance, but chemical was like one of my top choices. I think it was like number 2 on the list. With that being said, usually if you're not a chemical unit, you're probably not gonna be working within chemical.
So right now, if you guys don't know, we're in Germany. Are there any chemical units in Germany?
No, actually no, there's not, to my knowledge, no.
Are there a lot of chem units?
There's a few, but most of them are like at like the duty station that you don't want to go to, right? They have one in like Fort Myers, they have one in Korea. Like most of the big ones are like not like desired locations.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. We've already talked about why you picked your job. It was through OCS, correct?
Exactly.
And it wasn't your top choice, but that's what you ended up getting.
Yes and no. I thought I was gonna get my number 1, so I didn't really think that the number 2, the number 3, the number 4. I didn't think it mattered.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So for me, I was just like, hey, I have a degree in finance. I'm probably gonna get finance. That's how I was looking at it. So I ended up getting chemical, and no regrets. I mean, I met a lot of good people in chemical. For me though, I can't say that I've even learned anything chemical after, you know, basic officer school, because I've done nothing chemical. It's bizarre.
You're not in a chem job right now.
Right.
So your day-to-day responsibilities in your MOS, you would say they would vary between each chemo, correct? Okay.
So like, you know, and just to add to what you're asking too, so like usually what ends up happening is that if you get to a unit, right, and you're a chemical officer, usually if they don't have, like, let's say CBRN stuff is not the mission right now, because, you know, we haven't really had any CBRN threat in a long time. As a result, they will usually have you do additional tasks. Stuff that nobody really wants to do. As a chemo, oftentimes you end up doing those tasks. That would be like unit status reports, just like basically whatever people don't want, or if they have, like, let's say it's a holiday that's coming up, and they have a trip or somebody, they want somebody to plan it, they're not gonna task the AG guy, because they're gonna be like, hey, they already have a specific job that they're doing. So they're gonna task those chemical officers to say, hey, what are you really doing? You know, go ahead and plan that. If you're not at a chemical unit and you don't have like a desired job like an executive officer or platoon leader or something like that.
Okay. What would you say, what is the biggest benefit to being a chemo?
No, that's a really good question. I'll say the biggest benefit is that it's such a small branch, so everybody knows everybody.
Okay.
And with that being said, it's easier to get promoted, I would say, because like you probably worked with that person. So if you're a hard worker and your hard work speaks for itself, people are already gonna know who you are. Like, for example, for me, I was able to come to Germany just because they already kind of knew me. So when I just called my branch manager, it was like, oh yeah, I remember you, you know, and it was just like, let me see if there's any slots available. So because it's small, you're more likely as well to probably get like even like some school assignments.
If you could name one thing that you like the most and one thing you like the least about being a chemo, we're not even going to specifically talk about your job because as we know, guys, if you're a chemo, your job could vary.
Sure.
So just one thing about being a chemo, one thing you like the most and one thing you like the least.
So surprisingly, a lot of people hate the sebum chambers, right? But for me, my body doesn't react to it. So that it kind of makes me a great chemo officer because like once I go into the sebum chamber, I can take my pro mask off and I can keep it off for a longer time. I mean, I still feel it, just not as much. With that being said, I enjoy running those chambers, especially because, you know, people's, you know, nose start to run and stuff like that. And I think it's a great team camaraderie. And then, you know, all these guys that go into the sebum chamber, you know, they going all tough and macho. But once you go in there, you know, you're going to start crying, just natural, just little things like that. So it's kind of cool. You know, that's one of like my favorite things is just like running those like once a month. So usually I run it once a month because they don't have any other sebum guys to run it. So my least favorite thing about being a chemo is I feel as if they're like, for people that are actually interested in like chemical things, I think it's a disadvantage to them because they end up getting tasks that nobody wants to do. Like they end up planning like extra stuff, and I don't think it's fair for them. Like the negative connotation, I think it's a negative connotation. So a lot of times if you tell somebody, hey, I'm a chemo officer or I'm a chemo guy or whatever, they're like, what do you do? You know what I mean? And I think they get a bad reputation, and I don't think that's fair for them because chemo, I mean, it's important. If you looked at, you know, World War II and, you know, World War I, we had the mustard gas and things like that. So, I mean, you need to know how to operate your pro mask. It's important.
Have you been deployed before?
Interesting that you asked that. So, no, I have not deployed before, not yet, but I'm actually deploying next week. So, like in about 3 days, I'll be going.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to a lot of knowledge out there. I mean, of course, I'm not going to be doing anything chemical. I'm going to be doing budgeting. So be budgeting about $1 billion. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's a lot of knowledge. I'm going to learn a lot, so I'm looking forward to it.
All right. If there was anything about this job, or not your job, just being a chemo, if there was anything in the world that, you know, they said, hey, Roger, we're trying to change some stuff about being chemical officers, what would you change if they went and asked you?
I think that like, especially like when you go to like basic training, just like how to operate your pro mask, they don't go over how to correctly break it down and how to correctly clean it. A lot of people, like I said, if you go to a unit or if you're down range, you're on a deployment and you need to use your pro mask, you're not trained correctly on how to use it. And I think that like going to Boltic and stuff like that, they did cover very well how to use your pro mask and how to clean it, how to make sure that it works. And I think that most soldiers don't even know how that works. And I think it's important that they retrain people to know how to actually operate their pro mask to save them in a real life scenario.
Okay. So let's talk about your current job, right? Not being a chemo. Does it transfer over to the civilian world?
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay.
Like I said, that's what if you're interested in chemical stuff, it definitely transfers over. You know, because like you got to wear the mop 4 and the gear and stuff like that. So I mean, you can easily be a firefighter if you wanted to be. There's so many things you can work for FEMA, right? So there's so many things that you can do. Like the opportunities for a chemo is limitless if you're into those things, right? But like I said, I'm not interested in science that much. Like I have a master's in business. I'm interested in business.
Gotcha.
But if you are interested in chemo, it definitely transfers over. Especially too, you know, being an officer, you're managing so much equipment and so much amount of money for equipment. So each pro mask is worth over maybe $900, right? So the amount of managing skills that you're gaining, but bigger than just managing, just like the opportunity that, you know, transfers, like I said, like FEMA and stuff like that. So you definitely, you know, you will get that experience, and it does translate very well.
As officers, right?
Sure.
We don't have contracts after our first
obligation.
Yeah, our first obligation.
Right.
We continue to incur more obligations due to PCSing, staying in, things like that, schools. You're coming up, I think, at the end of your first 3 or 4 years.
Right.
What are your plans? You gonna stay in or you gonna get out?
That's a good question. That's a good question. So like, the military is not for everybody. That's we all know that. The military is not for everyone, but for me it is. I think the military is a great career. I think it sets you up very well if you want to get out and even do another career, which of course, once I get out, I'm going to definitely do another career as well. I'm going to do the long run. I'm in for the long run.
20 years?
Minimum.
Are there any words of wisdom you would give somebody that's looking at chemo?
It's a very specific question. What I'll say, okay, a good advice I'll say for a chemo, take your job very seriously. And the reason why I say that too is because it's such a small branch, all eyes on you. If you have a bad reputation within that branch, it's gonna follow you. But on the other side, if you have a good reputation within that branch, it's also gonna follow you. So because the branch is small, make sure that you take it serious. Don't burn any bridges and just follow up with your people, your chain of command. Don't forget your leaders there because you're probably gonna end up working for them again.
All right, guys, and you got it. This is me and Roger. We came in here, and he blessed you guys with an 84 Alpha.
No, 74 Alpha.
74 Alpha interview. If you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns, you guys can hit me up on Snapchat or IG. Any specific Chemo questions, as a 74 Alpha, I will link his page. And you guys can always just hop on his page, shoot him a DM or any of his contact information. Like I always like to say at the end of all my videos, don't live the same year 75, 80, 85, 90 times and then try and call it life. My name is Dom, aka KT2, and I'm out of here, guys. Peace.